Yabba-dabba-doo!
No, 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 no.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 31 of The Treat Show. We have a special guest tonight, Sam from Beyond Hype. I'm super excited about this interview. How's everybody doing out there? Before I get Sam on here, I hope everybody gets all their smoking utensils and devices ready. This is gonna be good. Really fast, I am smoking on the Skittles as usual lately. Yeah, and I will bring in Sam now. Let me see. Interview. So sorry, guys. One day. There we go. All right, Sam. How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for asking. I'm sorry for my unsmooth start, as always.
It's all good.
All right. Well, before we dive in to all of the deep questions of Sam, do you mind, Sam, if I ask like where you're at, just so everybody kind of knows where you're based out of
Um,
right now?
I'm based out of Kansas City area.
Kansas City, awesome. All right. Well, sorry, always got to cross my legs. Do you also mind if I ask you, starting off, what you've been smoking on lately? If you have any strains particularly that are grabbing your attention.
Just pretty much what I finished off in Colorado. Before I left there, so I got like the Glitter Litter, Motor City Blues, Poorhouse Blues, Blue Moon, and then like Blue Drop Top, and some more Blue Moon. It's all starting to get a little old at this point, just being that like it's all a few months old, so it's aging.
I feel like that's hard when you're a grower and a breeder too, because we like tend to pull down these rounds and then you get stuck, like, even if you have a variety like that, that's a nice variety. But in the last couple months you start getting a little antsy.
Yeah, it's like I gotta smoke something different, and I mean, even if it doesn't matter what strain it is, just I don't know. I can't. I guess that's why I got into genetics in the first place because I was always wanted to try something different and new. And it's like I like going back on older stuff, but I'd rather smoke something different each round.
I love that. I feel so. Sam, where were you first born, or where were you born or raised?
I was born in Kansas, raised in Nebraska. And
Wow.
I grew up in Nebraska until I was like 22. Then lived out in Colorado for 12.5 years or so.
That's a long run. Was Nebraska, did you ever grow when you actually lived in Nebraska?
Um, I wanted to, but I knew better because
Yeah.
fucking people talk back there, and it's like, I mean, people already knew who was like selling weed and all that shit, and everyone who was selling this and that. So it's like, if you grow and everyone was gonna know your shit, and I just,
Wasn't
if
worth the
you wanted
risk.
to like have friends at least, and you know.
So true. I had a job out in Nebraska one time. I worked on an oil rig when I was really young, and I got pulled over and searched 8 times going into the state. 8 different times. Just, it was such a strict, I mean, way different, way different. The second I came in with Colorado plates, I was like, oh, forget this.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a good enough lawyer, if you got busted growing, you got pretty much 2.5 years probation. But like, I know a few people that ended up getting popped out there, and pretty much all of them did probation, and like no one ratted or did any shit like that.
Oh, that's good. Was it hard then, Sam? Like when you first, I guess, like moving from Nebraska then to Colorado, was there something that like appealed to you about moving to Colorado? Was it for cannabis, by any chance?
I mean, I just got tired of catching fucking charges. Like,
Yeah.
I got two under-announced charges and then two over-announced charges in Nebraska. I mean, it's all fines, but still, at the end of the day, it was just a hassle over bullshit. So,
Yeah. You're like, I can't do this anymore. Did you, when you first moved to Colorado, did you move to like Denver, or what spot did you first land at here?
uh, for the most part, I spent most of my time on the west side, like,
Nice.
uh, and I've lived all over the west side, like Arvada, Westminster, Broomfield, uh, Lakewood, lived up in the mountains,
Okay.
um, Granby, Idaho Springs. I moved a lot when I was in Colorado. I mean, it was, you know, set up a place here, move, set up another one. But
God, that's crazy, Sam. You're like one of the. It's interesting because I wanna get into this with you because you're one of the very few people I've seen that started in the industry so like young into the industry, like the industry being young itself, and you yourself. But you've been through it all from what I've seen, like all these different events, all the different states, like really invested yourself full blown into this, and that's what really caught my attention with you at first. Is I was like, man, this guy is like really doing it, and he's not like the live well or the green solution that has this massive capital or something behind you. And I don't mean that like maybe you do, but I've seen you really achieve so very much, and like it really just, I think, reflected how passionate you are about this. Is there like something that when you first started breeding, can you tell us about that? Like when you first, what caught your attention to even begin breeding, and like when you first, what year roughly that kind of started?
shit. Okay, so well, main reason I started breeding is because like I had already been on this huge collection of like cuts and seeds and like I mean my seed collection is embarrassing. Um, but I just was like, oh fuck it, I've been spending all this money and searching for all this shit. Might as well start trying to make my own stuff and I guess preserve some of the cuts. And I mean, first time I was like, it was just straight, pollen chuck sesh and uh, I totally fucked it up. Just way too much pollen in the room. It like molded out the cocoa in there, and
Damn.
um,
Can we talk
just
about that
it was a complete toss.
real fast, Sam? Because no breeders ever talk about how difficult it is the first couple of times to get into this, and we all kind of do that. Is like, do you mind if I ask, like, when you actually went to apply the pollen, like the very first time, like, how difficult was that? Like, did you already know kind of like, or I don't know, what was your actual technique the
Oh,
very first
my
time?
technique was I had like a male in the room with all my females. Um, and I mean, I took a stick to the motherfucker and just beat the shit out of it. Like, and I mean, it was in a little like 2x4 tent.
Damn.
Just a small thing that was fitting in my buddy's closet. Or actually, fuck, it wasn't even a tent. It was just my buddy's closet that we had set up, put pond liner on the bottom of it. because I was just like, when I first got into it, I was never wanted to fucking really make seeds in my own house, and that's why it always held me back because I don't want to fuck up anything else that was going back then and like risk, seeding out around.
Yeah.
So finally, I had a buddy that was like, "Yeah, fuck it, I don't grow. Like, let's flower off some males and make some seeds my way, and we'll just split the seeds or whatever." And so the first couple times, that's pretty much how I made like seeds. Is I just go over there, and I was like meticulous about once I left that room, I was like stripping down to the boxers, going straight into the fucking bathroom, showering down, like bagging up clothes. Like I was like, I'm not fucking up my crop.
Wow.
Um,
Were you scared in
and
like your
then
car?
what's that?
Were you scared like going in and out of the car or anything like that, or like?
Oh no, because I mean, I was like before I even left the house, I was spraying down with water. Like the second I stepped out the door, it just Um, and I mean, I was working at a dispensary at the time too, and like was running uh, the grow with two other people. I mean, we were the ones that were in charge of doing everything there, and so I was like, yeah, I'm not trying to fuck up the whole, you know, 50 light room worth of shit.
My bad, guys. That's awesome. So, okay, I thought it was really cool that you said too the first time you applied too much pollen. What did you see with that? Like I don't know. Like you said, it started
I
getting.
mean, the plants got seeded out, but like pretty much what had happened is a bunch of that pollen had collected on the bottom of the pots, and it was staying too humid. And what had happened is like cotton mold that was starting to grow on the cocoa and caused root rot. And it killed everything off.
Damn.
Um, yeah, and so I learned my lesson after that. That I was like, okay, if I'm gonna dump pollen on this whole shit, it's like I got to make sure I'm doing either major drybacks on this, scooping off anything off the top of the soil, like um, just a little bit more strict on like cleanliness of the room and cleaning up all like pods and pollen that's fallen and shit like that. And never had that issue since.
Do you think that like the first like say the first year is were you doing like how many seed runs do you think, Sam, that you got until finished until you were like, okay, I've really refined my technique and I really feel really good about this all the way around? Where you were excited for your first drop? Did it like real excited? Did it take?
Um, I'd probably say like once I started like, I mean the blueberry muffin top line, like when I did that whole pollen, like I'm that was a room's worth of like plants and stuff like that, and I'd really had it more dialed in on how to get everything going and like make sure that it was refined and whatnot. But there's trial and error before that. The Blue Magoo round, um, that one was more of like dusting everything instead of doing open pollination. So um,
For the guys that don't know what that is, Sam, can we don't have to touch on it very much, but when you're dusting to actually pollinate the plant is like, can we talk about like just really fast? Is that like where you're taking and scraping all the pollen onto like a flat surface and taking like a paintbrush to the sides of the plant, or I mean,
so usually what I'll do is right here. Take Give me a second. Take a trim tray,
awesome.
and then I'll trim bin is what they're called. You find them on Amazon, your grow stores. Support your local grow store instead of Amazon for the most part,
Love
because
that.
you know gotta keep the mom and pops in business. But I'll just take a male, throw it on there, let it dry out, beat it down across the grate, and then that takes any of like the particle. I don't have to worry about that going in with the pollen. I'll usually let it sit outside or like in a room, but I'll let it sit for like 5, 7 days, let that pollen dry completely,
Awesome.
and then I'll throw it in a vial like just like what you normally see, like with a seed or whatnot. I like to go with like a 1 ml vial, and then if I have like major jars worth, I'll stack a bunch of 1 ml vials because then that way you can freeze that and then take however many vials you need to pollinate, but still have the rest of it in storage so you're not like uh, letting it go bad. That way you can keep your pollen for a longer period of time. I'll usually also throw, I know I'm going to fuck this word up, desiccants or desiccants, like silica packets
Mm,
uh, to pull the moisture
yeah.
out of the pollen as well. Um,
I never even thought about that,
and
Sam. That's brilliant.
and then pretty much yeah, just freeze it, or if I don't freeze it, I'll just throw it in the fridge, and I've had it keep for a couple years in the fridge.
Gosh, that is incredible. Thank you so much for explaining that. I had a question in the chat too for you on what was your favorite drop out of everything that you've done so far? Is there a run that really stood out to you?
Oh shit, I don't know. That's always a hard question because like
Definitely.
usually if I'm putting something out, I actually enjoy it. I don't like just like I'll make a bunch of crosses and throw pollen on some stuff and just see if it sticks, and if it doesn't, then fuck it. It's just I got piles of seeds that I don't know what the hell I do. I need to just drive across the Midwest and throw them fuckers out. But
Let's go
like,
planting.
I mean, if I test everything that I grow, and so it pretty much most anything I put out has made the cut. On the blueberry muffin top line, I'd have to say probably Blue Lagoon. Like you find the right pheno on that Blue Lagoon, it is its choice. Everything on that comes out lemon, but it's not like lemon G lemon. It's more on like a creamier candy lemon within a
Ooh.
sense. Ones I'm excited about is these headband crosses. I got them all going to testing. I just gotta get to it. Um, but I haven't seen what anything came out of that progeny wise yet. Um, my buddy just finished up testing some of the Magoo's Whorehouse line. That came out really good. I gotta try and smoke all that stuff because, which is one of the nice things is I talk to him like pretty much every day, like video chat, and then like whenever he harvests, I'll usually make the trip up that way and go smoke and see what everything turns out like.
Oh,
And the Dirt Diggler and the Intergalactic Lot Lizard both turned out really good. So the Intergalactic Lot Lizard's Z-Star Punch across to the Magoo's Whorehouse, it turned out really Z-Star Punch dominant, like that uh, funk, sort
ooh.
of like that perp candy funk, I guess would be the best way to. It actually has a good high to it. And then the Dirt Diggler is headband cross to the Magoo's Whorehouse, and that one turned out really good as well. Gassy with like a nice sweet back note.
Oh, Sam, do these grow like some of these strains? Do they grow like more ideally, like because of like I'm not sure if you're breeding still intense, but if these we have a lot of home growers on the show that like it size wise, if you were growing in a tight space, would any of these genetics particularly run really well for that height wise or the
Well, one thing that I'd always suggest is that if you're dealing with height issues, top and bend your plants. Like, met, form that plant to your space.
love
Don't
that?
just let the plant go to out of control and then try and have to deal with it. I mean, most of all the stuff that I've grown and dealt with, it's been, I've had not. I'm not doing it in commercial 15-foot ceiling rooms. Like the blueberry muffin top crosses, they have bigger. They're gonna grow bigger, but they're gonna branch well while they do it. If you top them and bend at the same time, you can do these things indoors all day. Um, and with some of these, also, it just means that you don't have to grow them out as long as veg time. So just plan for that accordingly. But you'll get the nice yields, the stack, uh, everything on that blueberry muffin top line added vigor and yield and
Oh,
frost all day. So that one, it's definitely good. I'm not doing anything more on the blueberry muffin top line just because I've moving forward with other projects, and
Okay.
uh, pretty much what I've made is out there now,
Mm.
and if you want it, grab it, but eventually it will sell out, and once it is, it's gone for good, and I'm moving on. Like I said, with other projects.
I gotta get on that. I Do you think, Sam, that the color, like, is there any color? For some reason, I imagine something when you say blueberry and all these, like, I'm imagining this really colorful plant. Does it pull any type of pigments or anything,
Uh,
aesthetically?
the blueberry itself or like the blueberry muffin top doesn't add too much color
Mm.
itself, like that female. I mean, you might get some stuff that's get a little bit of like a tint of blue or whatnot,
Ooh.
but like some of the crosses that it's hit with will draw color because of the moms that I've used on it. Like the whorehouse blues, you're gonna have herb that comes out of that all day, but there's no cookies in it.
Nice.
It's getting nice like berry floral notes that come out of that one. It's a real nice one. The Blue Lamoon, there are some that pull color on that, and that came from the Lamoon cake, which the wedding cake is what adds the color in
Ooh,
that cross.
that sounds
Um,
beautiful.
but like some of the stuff like truck stop pastries, you're not going to get any color really comes off of that. Most everything's going to be green, gassy, style bud off of that, and that's coming from the petrol station that's in it, which is
Ooh,
GMO crossed to Kindle sour.
damn.
So um, that one influences more on that cross.
God, those all sound so incredible. Thank you so much, Sam. Is so when you're growing, I love that you actually went into like conforming your plants to the space. But do you have like a preference in the style that you're growing in when you're doing your seeds, or just growing in general? Do you do soil or hydro, or can you tell us a little bit about your
Shit.
mix? You don't have
I
to go
do it
crazy.
all for the most part. I mean, like my go-to would be cocoa, but like honestly, right now it's whatever nutrients I have on hand that's going to
Yeah.
finish out a round that I don't have to spend money on, because most all the nutrients at the end of the day are the same. As long as you know how to run your formula and configure your NPK values, what needs to be ran, then they all source from very similar spots. It's
Totally.
what you're adding on to your bases at that point to what's going to make the difference. But yeah, cocoa for the most part. I mean, I like running soil as well when I have a chance.
Yeah.
But I'll run build a soil here and there as well.
That's That I love Jeremy's mix over there. I think they have a great thing going. The whole system. But like you said, I love that you say that as well though, is because I think sometimes people get too partial to brands, like, or it goes both ways. Is I think if you find something that you trust, like, there's a value in that. But I think if, especially if you're just getting into growing in some of those areas, but I think, yeah, I think it's good if you actually have the knowledge to being able to use anything though, and be able to finish out with still a quality product, like you said, and they're
Oh,
getting it.
and I mean, if to people out there, it's like if you got a regiment and it works and you know it works, I mean, do it all day. I'm just one that I can get bored easily doing the same thing over and
Yeah.
over. So I don't know, want to always try new things, learn new things. But after running, like that's one thing I really tried working on is like not being a regiment grower and like
Yeah.
actually learning the product itself. And I mean, it can be a difficult task that uh, until you you get your bearings on it and learn to read the plant or whatnot. But after running like a lot of comparisons of like nutrient companies uh, versus each other,
Yeah.
like same in the same room, same temps, same pot size, everything like that, running same strains against each other. At the end of the day, it's just sort of how you run the product itself. But
Yeah.
a lot of them are very similar if you start looking at the breakdowns of the chemicals that they're using in it, and a lot of it's very, very much the same.
Do you think with that, Sam, do you think that there's techniques for like the guys that are just getting into growing or breeding or just have an interest is I noticed that a lot of people don't understand like do you do any reversals by any chance or any F yeah, any reversals? Have you done any
So
feminized seeds?
that's pretty much what I've been working on as of lately. Is so like the Magoo's Whorehouse line, which I just need to get off my ass and start doing promotions for
I'm
it.
excited.
Because I already have a few that have been grown out and tested. Those are FEMs, so I do have FEMs that should be coming out here soon. Um, Speaking of that, Seed Bazaar, Attitude Seed Bank USA, and Midwest Mountain Seed Bank. If you're looking for Beyond Hype seed gear, those are the places to go. They will all be having my FEM seeds here soon as well.
We'll put them in the
Um,
description too for you, Sam.
Appreciate that. Um, but yeah, I've been working on FEM seeds. Pretty much, I got two FEM projects that are one's been tested on some of the stuff. I still got more to test, and then the headband stuff as well is FEM run. And then I got one more I'm going to do FEMs, and then I'm going to go to regular seeds again after that. But my goal is to do 3 FEM crosses, work my way to a regular, 3 FEM crosses, work my way to a regular. But also saying that I can make the seeds, but it's still going to take forever to get them out because they're all got to get tested and ran through and everything like that. So
Could you give us a little run through of like your process from start to finish, Sam? You don't have to if you don't want to at all, but um could you give us just like what yeah, if you're starting with a clone or seed, uh like when you're
like
picking.
if I'm making seeds or just growing seeds or testing.
Like if you're going to make your first round and then you're going to test it, what that really means, like from start to
So pretty
finish.
much what I'll do if I'm doing regular seeds is I'll pop the seeds first. Then I pick out my males and my females, take all my females, grow them out, veg them. Those will get flowered off. Males get held back. I'll usually stunt the hell out of them, keep them in cups as long as possible, um,
Smart.
and then see how my females start to grow out. Once it starts getting closer, that like once I pass at least the like 4 5 week mark, where if that what I'm growing with isn't spitting a bunch of nuts, or in other words, showing a bunch of hermetic traits, then I'll usually take take those males, pot them into something bigger, let them grow out and get healthy, and then I'll take cuts off of them, get the males going from clone, and then that's when I'll usually flower those out because by the time that I get to that, I finish off flowering off the females. So then once I take my find the females that I like phenotypically off of that, then I'll take my males and I'll start comparing like leaf serration
Oh,
and growth structure um, to see which ones grow the most similar to that phenotype that I like. Um, and then usually those are the males that I like pull off to the side, but I still flower off all the rest of the males. But those are usually the ones that I'm keeping an eye on for the most part because they've already caught my eye. Um, then I'll flower off the males, see which ones I like. Um, if I'm trying to collect pollen off of that round, then I'm taking the males outside of the room, moving it off into a different room, and then letting that male that I like flower off in a different room where I'll then collect pollen off of it, then use that pollen, test the male, see how it turns out, um, if I like it or not. But usually I'll do that with like 2 or 3 different males that have like sort of caught my eye and that I like, and then take those pollens, see which one I like out of the best out of those when you grow them off, and then that's usually the keeper male. So, I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, pretty much that's 9 months to a year, right there on just trying to find a male, and then another 3 months, because then I'll take the male that I do like, and that's when I'll go into production mode with
Yeah.
it, and I'll hit it to usually like best way I'll do is I'll do like a side room off of like from where my like regular is going, and have just negative. So like wherever the main flower room is, I run closed.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so I'm not running air in or out of that room. It's has its own AC that goes to it, its own circulation that's going. I'm scrubbing within the room itself. I'm not blowing anything out, so I don't have any pressure in that room. And then where I'm making seeds, I'll run negative pressure out the ass. Like fucking, I'll run a fan that's just sucking air going into that room, and then I have a fan right outside of that room as well, sucking air and blowing it out. So it's like pollen's not escaping.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's I'm gonna have to go on a break here in just a second. I'm gonna explain this, but I gotta go tell my son goodnight.
Absolutely.
Um, so pretty much, I'll do my production run in that. I take my male, I'll flower it off within that room, open pollination, everything, and then so that's another 2.5. Well, yeah, about 2.5 months because 10 weeks minimum. I'm running my seeds, uh, and then pretty much take seeds, collect them, wait about 2-3 weeks minimum from drying time, and then it start off to testing. So that's another about 4 or 5 months.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
See,
But I'll be right back. Like,
yeah,
give me just 2 minutes.
take your time. I feel like, let's see, I might be able to do this very classily. Probably not. I'm always scared of these buttons, guys. We'll just wait. We'll just wait. We won't even take the risk. All right. Well, guys, you put some questions in the chat, and if I missed anything, please put them now, and I'll make sure I touch on them with Sam. I'm gonna roll another blunt too. Hold on 1 second. Thank you. Okay, so I'm smoking Lightshades weed again. It's really funny, only to me, just because I was a bud tender there for so long. Not so long, but so many times. It's like I would get antsy during certain parts of my career, and I'd be like, I have to learn something, or I have to like see what's going on over here. And like I actually would help train their staffs and open stores and kind of help with branding and marketing, but it was fun. But I think that Lightshade, we started as only, yes.
Sorry, sorry about that.
Don't be sorry at all. That was perfect. I was telling a shitty story, Sam. Thank you. Please go back to what we were saying. You were saying that it gets to the point where you start to testing at that point where you still have another additional 5 months or so from even that time period of like 9 or 10 months or beyond of investment.
Oh yeah, I mean it's look. If I wanted to be rich like some of these breeders are out there, and I'm not going to say any names or anything like that, and more power to you if you're doing this, because get your fucking hustle on. But
Shit.
some of these people are making seeds and they're selling them. I've
Yeah.
seen so many people post on their shit that they're making seeds, and they haven't even harvested their shit, and they're like, seeds are going to be released in a month, and they start hyping this stuff up. I
Yeah.
don't really agree with that so much. And that's sort of another reason that I started making my own seeds, because I saw a lot of that happening. And I'm like, okay, so who's actually testing the gear and who's not? Like, am I just paying to be someone's tester? And
That's
I don't know. I just wanted to do it the right way, just because I buy a bunch of seeds, so I know how that consumer feels on that end, and I just wanted to do the consumer right.
I love that. Like, I feel like Sam, you're just the type of person that's such a good person all the way around, and you can just see it in you immediately. I highly recommend any event in the United States, or Sam goes out of the country too, is you definitely want to see Beyond Hype, and you definitely want to meet Sam in person. Is he's somebody that warms up the atmosphere in some of these crazy settings, but I think you just really show that you care so much about your product. Um, do you, Sam, do you mind if we talk more about, like, have you, so with like actual flower, like we definitely know that you're into breeding, you're, and you crush in that
If
regard.
I'm going off the screen, it's because I'm about to do a dab. I keep looking off the timer. I don't know if it kicks me on or off.
Oh, I
But
feel like you get your dab on. Thank you.
sorry, flower. Um,
Yeah, like do you like when you grow in general, like in these small or big spaces, like have you you sound like a real connoisseur, like consumer of flower as well. And I don't know, do you have you ever grown commercially, or do you like stay just kind of in the breeding side, or do you like personal batches for yourself, or I don't know. Are you into the flowering side obviously as well?
oh, I smoke my own weed.
Love that.
I've, that's what I mean. I got into it from learning how to grow. I've grown commercially in like facilities and stuff like that, companies and whatnot. But even then, I still killed myself by coming, home from working in a grow and then running my own grow. 'Cause
Oh.
I don't know, I'm a glutton for fucking punishment, I guess.
I think that's awesome though that you're really true to it all the way around. Have you been growing? How long do you think that you've been growing now in total and breeding?
Shit. So I started growing once I moved out to Colorado. I moved into a grow house and like learned with like helping them repot, trimming, shit like that. And then I was doing that for about 6 months. After that, I was fucking broke because you know how Colorado is. It's not for the weak of heart. You gotta be on your fucking hustle. And I was to the point where it was like I was gonna have to move home or figure something out. And I got offered to get put on, and had 2 years or not 2 years, two guys that had shit. One of them had like 3 or 4 years experience. The other one was like on 8 or 9 years experience. Like, I mean, these guys were fucking stealing street lamps style growers and shit like that, tapping power. Like,
Ah, that's what's up.
yeah, I mean, I learned from the fucking old school, which was sort of cool. Like, you keep your shit on
Super
fucking
cool.
low. You don't fucking shout it out.
Yeah, you couldn't
You
post like
fucking.
you couldn't post your shit. You couldn't show
I
anybody your
was
good
never
weed.
on social media or any of that shit until I got a legal job, and then I felt comfortable enough posting grow pics at that point. But before that, it's like, no, you don't do that shit, man. Like, you just don't post your rooms. Like, that's how you get fucking popped.
That's exact.
And so, like, I mean, I used to be a ghost on like IC Mag and shit like that, but I never would like post on there just
Oh.
because I was too scared. But like, I mean, when I started learning how to grow, like, they pretty much they taught me for 2 rounds, and then said, "All right, you got this shit. If you have any problems, give me a call." And then like that was it. But like, we'll collect our cut. We'll be here when it comes time to
Don't fuck
trim.
this
But like,
up.
yeah, straight up. And I mean, it was like that's no fucking joke. That's how I learned. And I remember calling them, fucking freaking out, being like, "Dude, I don't know what the fuck's going on with my plants. Like, fucking going yellow and shit. And they're like, oh, I'll be there in like 2 days. I'm like, 2 days? What the fuck? And so like going on like, the forums and stuff and trying to figure out like what I was doing wrong or how to like fix that. So like, oh yeah, I remember reading all that shit back in the day and like, you know, trying to figure out how to grow and.
It was so much
But
harder back then, like
oh
you're
yeah,
saying, because there wasn't even resources. Like it made me feel. I remember the times of finding out what russet mites were for the first time, and like there was no
oh
resources. It was like your plants were going to shit, and you didn't know like why. Like it was just all of a sudden this dramatic, curling, or like just everything looked fucking, and you couldn't
oh
see any
yeah.
bugs, and nobody knew what a russet mite was, and I don't know. It was just that
I
yellowing nightmare.
When I first found out what russet mites were, I was working at Agati, and this was in like 2015, maybe
Damn,
2014,
so
and
long
like
ago
it
now.
was right about the point when like all that facts about like Avid and Warbank, they're like this shit is horrible. Everyone that's telling you on the forums use this, they're like don't use this shit,
Yeah.
man. Like, and like
Everybody's smoking
testing
Eagle
started
20.
coming out like right then and that, and they're like. So we're like, okay, we can't use some nasty shit. How do we kill these motherfuckers? And like trying to
Yeah.
figure it out. And then it was like sulfur, fucking sulfur.
That's exactly that's exactly right. But it took so long. Like now people are all cocky about it. They're like, yeah, terpene enhancer. And like I'm like, dude, you guys have no idea.
Oh,
Sulfur
dude,
was like
fucking, using the fucking book, like throwing, oh my god, so many fucking different things that it's like, this isn't working, this isn't working. What the fuck is working on these things? Like,
yeah.
uh,
Sam, do you think like when you first started going to like the trade shows or like what was your first like event? What do you remember like your first cannabis?
it would have been, I don't know, I bet, how many cannabis cups had there been in Colorado? I want
Ugh.
to say
Sometimes I feel like
I
there's
want
like
to be. I want to say I've been to 3 or 4 cannabis cups in Colorado, and like I'm talking like the actual cannabis cups,
the
not
real
like the
ones.
shit that yeah, not the things that they throw now. That's like a falsity of what like.
It was
Uh,
awesome. 2012 to 2014 were my like maybe 15 were my favorite cups in Colorado, but like 2012, maybe 13 were my like 12 was when it was medical only. Did you go when it was only like or you had to have like a
yeah,
your red card to smoke in that section or whatever, but it was a badass section and it was huge.
yeah. So
There's like
I went 3 years, 2 medical years, and then 1 rec year. And then the
damn.
rec year was the last year when they shut like, or no,
14 was rec. It's always
no, they had 2 rec years, didn't they?
Yep,
So I think I
you're
went
right.
2 medical years and then 2 rec years.
That's exactly 12, yep, to 15. You're right.
Yeah,
16.
so that was like my first event ever was going to one of those, and then like I don't even know if I had my med card or if I somehow managed to get a fucking med card pass and got in there, and like I remember walking in the first fucking booth they're just handing out dabs, and they're like, and this is like back at the 15-second dab day of like you pick
Yeah.
that fucker up and then you wait 15 seconds and then take it, and it's like hot as
Yes.
shit. They're like, you want a big one or a small one? And I'm like, fucking big one, of course. This
It's like
dude
a
knows like a
gram.
fucking. Oh, it was like a dime-sized fucking chunk of fucking. And I'm just like, had to walk around the event twice to stop coughing. Because I'm just like coughing. And I'm like, there's no trash can. I'm like, I gotta spit so fucking bad. Like.
I threw up that day from a dab. I like coughed too hard. I threw up. I was like, sorry. It's a great shame
but,
moment at that cup.
yeah, so a lot of like the events and like how I met a lot of the people wasn't even from like starting selling seeds. It was I was going to events just to go to the events because I found out like that's where a lot of these breeders were going, and like you could actually get these genetics of people who you couldn't even find their seeds on banks or anything like that. It was like fuck yeah, like so like I would just turn it into vacations and like going out to like California back back in the 215
Damn.
SB 420 days and buying seeds at those events. Like I remember getting shit from CSI back before no one really even knew who CSI was, but he was only doing like the Bubba crosses and shit.
Damn.
And yeah,
Bubba was so
ended
sick.
up meeting a lot
Is
of people like going to those events, and then eventually started breeding and sort of hopped onto the whole scene or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for a minute, and a lot of it was just for the hell of it.
that is crazy, Sam. I feel like it's just so cool that you've like been in it that long and really seen like the changes. Like sometimes I think about those days and it's hard because there's such a small group of people that really were here in that community when it started that are still here and or like where we all talk or
Oh
so,
yeah,
so and I feel like it was such a pleasant time that we'll never get to experience again. It's like it's weird to
oh
think
yeah.
about, but I don't know. Those were incredible times.
They were good times. Yeah, it's like sort of realized that it's like, oh man, wish I would have known that those were the good old days when
Straight
it was
up.
actually happening and whatnot. But like the scene was so different. It wasn't so cutthroat and everyone just trying to fuck each other over just to survive at that point. Like it was.
It's true. The quality.
It's
Don't you think the quality was better across the board too? I felt like
oh
everybody's
yeah.
weed was better. Like,
Well, it's just like it wasn't as like I don't know corporate at that point, and like
mm,
you could get a good price for your nugget if you grew good nugget,
yeah,
and people actually tried then at that point. Where it's like so many people I know that are like, yeah, I'm just fuck it, like I ain't getting shit for it, like I'm throwing the basics at it, like fuck,
yeah.
I'm not paying for additives anymore. I'm not paying for the top dollar newts, and it's like you know it
It's
sucks,
sad.
but it's fucking sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do to stay afloat.
I think that's what's the true like I have this belief and I hope I'm right is that like everybody that sticks it out through this tough time because I remember during like 2012 to like 2014 15 is like everybody was selling their weed that was good for like 5 to 6 grand a pound and like totally different. Like you could grow weed that you pushed out, you could harvest differently, you could do whatever you wanted. And I feel like the quality started declining like you said with the commercial scale, but the price also dropped so low that now a lot of these like really talented growers and breeders can't afford to compete like with, you know, these low prices or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have opted out. Just like, fuck it, I'll go make money fucking legally because I can make more motherfucking money.
Yeah,
And fucking, it's like the commercial level. It's shit's just so fucked on that end right now that
it's true.
no one's willing to pay any money
Yeah,
because either the state is fucking at the
out of
moment
control.
just out of control and prices are rock bottom and
Yeah,
got to do whatever the fuck you can to survive, like I said,
it's true.
or they're in a state and they're getting a shit ton of money for the weed, but it's ran by an MSO that doesn't give a fuck about their employees whatsoever, and they'd rather pay them less than what someone who works at fast food makes.
That's
And it's
that.
like, why are you gonna get a good weed at that point? Because they don't give a fuck. It's
They
like,
don't give a fuck.
no,
That's what I think is so sad is like to see exactly that, but like now where people, I don't know, like I don't think that people realize what all the stuff that happens behind the scenes. Like you said, like everybody's pretty cutthroat in this, and you have to be so guarded, and you have to like at this point, if you've put in more than a decade, you've been fucked over a lot. Like it's like what time would you like to talk about or something, you know? But I
yeah.
think that I don't know. Did you ever go through anything, Sam, that was like really tough, like that really like pushed it where you were like, should I do this? Or you start questioning like
Oh,
the,
dude,
yeah,
for like on the commercial end, I mean, unless you're coming at me with a lot of money,
a lot.
no, I'm just not dealing with it anymore. It's like I've been fucking robbed,
Yep.
fired, like just name it.
Yeah.
It's like fucked over because that's what they do. And it's like I feel like I'm the sour asshole when I talk to people that are new into the game because I'm
Yeah.
like, watch your back, make sure you get fucking contracts, like
Yep.
guard your intellectual fucking property. They're gonna try and get you to write it out in SOS or SOPs right away. Like they
Right
want
away, first day.
and yeah, it's and everyone's like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, okay. Talk to someone 6 months later, and they're like, I got fucked, and I'm like, I told you. Like,
It's the truth. When, like you said, even with the fast food, is I get so pissed when head grower used to make like 120,000 a year when they first started, like 2012 to whatever. Is like that was probably the average. You had to be good at your job. You were doing a lot of jobs, but that's the average pay. But now it's down to like 45,000 for your top position. These people are like grown ass adults with their degree, which is required. People don't understand. It's like to be a head grower now, and then you get paid shit, and then the grow staff, like trimmers and all these people, as an average, they're making like $15 an hour, and Wendy's is hiring for 18, and it's like it just doesn't add up. I don't understand. Did we lose Sam? He's gonna call us back, I bet. Well, we'll wait for Sam to come back, but I am so excited. Bam. Thank you so much.
sorry about that.
Don't be sorry at all. Um, all right. Where were we at?
Oh, just talking about pretty much warn people, protect your ass
You gotta be careful.
when it comes to this shit. Like, if you're gonna be working commercial, make sure that you're gonna get paid decent.
Yeah. Oh, I got you.
Okay.
Can you?
All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you. Is yeah, you're absolutely right though. Is I think it. I don't know. Is do you think that you would work? Like, do you think you would go back to the commercial side or just stick doing it independent, solely brand?
I mean, if I could get either the right contract for someone who want to hire it out and it's actually written good, my lawyer looks it over, everything's fine, then yeah, I'd go back on that. But I mean, a contract's only as good as the person who's willing to write it. So at that point, still means like if I'm working with legit people and not slime balls,
Yeah.
I'd do it. Um, that or if I could end up pulling my own licensing, some way, I'd, I'd go about that. But that's pretty much. Otherwise, yeah, naked seeds and just doing the seed business. That's
Uh,
pretty much where I'm at on that one.
I love that, Sam. Have you seen in the market, speaking of all this, is like, have you seen where the trade shows have less people at them, like throughout the years?
Okay, finally someone that actually wants to talk about this on a fucking video. Like, I'll state this, and it's gonna be, I know it's gonna piss off some people,
It's
but
okay.
the trade shows need to step the game up. There are a few out there, like Groovy Gravy. Great, I will do Groovy Gravy every time. Wolf brings it. He advertises. He makes sure that a crowd is there.
Yep.
People come there and they come there to actually buy seats. That's what he advertises it for. It's a great event. Now, Canicon, Canicon don't give a fuck about anyone other than selling the booze.
Yep.
Straight up. Imperious, same shit. They'll sell booze all day, but they won't advertise for anything. Dead, just dead shows. And all these people have the nerve to charge $2,500, $3K for 2 day booth, and then have you stand there in an empty ass room like an idiot with your dick, or not your dick, your thumb up your ass,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I'm the idiot that just paid 3K for a booth, and then hotel,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, it's
And then you have this
some of them
shitty,
are
like,
jokes.
not a shitty setup, but like where it's like very bare minimal, like you're saying, like if you're lucky, you have like a table or two chairs or something, or, but it's like really for what you're paying for a booth at some of these events is like it doesn't even. I don't know. It's a really uncomfortable time for even.
I was supposed to do an event yesterday, but I ended up having a death in the family. So
Oh,
like,
Sam, I'm so sorry.
I ended up not going and doing that event just because family affairs. But I don't know how that one turned out. But it looked like, I mean, from the few pics I saw, that there was at least people that showed up. They weren't charging much for it, and that's where it seems like the smaller pop-up guys seem to actually be pulling off and doing more work than these larger companies that are offer or that charge 3K to do an event and then don't do any advertisement whatsoever other than like emails or some Instagram posts, and that's it.
I honestly don't think like Canacon and stuff and like some of these like really like that is like so large that when you go there it's like too big, period, I think. And it's weird, but you're paying so much for some of these passes and those tickets like to even get in, and it's like there's not even a lot of like I don't know, I wouldn't tell people to go to that event particularly. It's like, and I hate to say that, but it's like there's not even a lot of information for like a consumer or a lot of help. It's like a shit ton of businesses flexing on themselves, like having two-story bullshit setups of like, I don't know. It was just like the wrong vibe to me. I honestly thought it's not that I don't go. I go, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you're gonna go do anything where you're actually looking for the companies, MJ BizCon is where it's at this point, but it's
Yeah,
not seed oriented whatsoever.
you're right. They're kind of strict on that almost.
It's pretty chatty, but I mean there are legit people that are there within the crowd as well. That people are in the game, been in the game for a long time and shit like that. You do, they still do go to the events and shit, but
Do you see the same people, Sam, that you saw at the beginning, like renting booths, though, like with you? That I don't know. Did you see a lot of guys fade in and out, like other companies, when you're going to these events?
um, some of the people like, well, it's changed. It really has changed ever since COVID.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't seem like the events are really what they used to be. Like before that, you see a lot of the same people in the events because they were profitable, they drew crowds. The whole industry didn't become oversaturated because when everyone started buying weed during COVID, everyone just jumped into the weed game, and it seems like that's when everyone's buying whatever SOP that they need. They have whatever brand they know. A lot of the stuff's been set up at the point where the people who needed that information don't really need that information anymore. So the trade shows need to sort of adapt and move to a different perspective if they want to keep within the scene, and they need to move towards the consumer more than they do these large corporations that
yeah.
have bought into the game because there's not that many uh, corporations that are in that game. It's a small number of MSOs that control a large share of it. They already have the companies that they know they want to buy from.
Yeah.
They they already stolen pretty much their SOPs from whoever at this point, or paid, but paid a low price.
Yeah, as
Um,
cheap as possible.
and they're not looking to get a lot of that. If they are, they're going to go do it at MJ BizCon because that's where they go to get their business done. And a lot of those CEOs don't even go into the event itself. They just do their meetings within the hotels while the event's going on.
Y- That's crazy to think about. You're right, though. You're spot on.
And then they send their grower, their extractor in there, and they say, "We need to build this. We need you to plan it out. Give us a sum up of how much money it's going to cost and what
Yep.
companies want to use." And they send that one person off, and then they do all the work on it while the rest of them sit away and do, paperwork business.
Such. I feel like, yeah, it's a weird time. I hope that it'll almost go back. I hope that the market being tough right now and oh my God, Sam, oh my God, let me see her. is is it a boy or a girl?
Girl,
She's adorable. What is her name?
Maddie.
Maddie, oh my God. I'm so jealous, Sam. Oh, I'm in love. I'm sorry. It's just so.
No, it's all good. That's why camera's sort of all over the place. She does not want to lay down right now.
She is so freaking cute. How old is she?
uh, my guess is around 8 weeks. Like we were supposed to get. I don't know. The person I got it from didn't give the most information,
Oh, she's a
but
mysterious girl.
but I'm pretty sure she was supposed to be 8 weeks today.
Oh my gosh. Tell Maddie happy birthday from us. We need to send you some dog toys. um, well, Sam, what do you think? I don't know. Do you see where do you see like the industry going, or like for the breeders and these events? Do you think that it's gonna climb back and be big again, or do you think it's just gonna kind of get slower, smaller?
You better have some love for the fucking plant, and if you're gonna stick in it, I think it's gonna get bad. It's gonna get real bad, and then eventually it'll get better. But I think that a lot of people are gonna get opted out, especially when they're talking about this rescheduling and stuff like that. Like, who knows what that's gonna lead. It's
What's your
opening
thoughts
up.
on that, Sam?
I think it's bullshit. I think they just need to decriminalize it instead of doing this whole rescheduling shit, because once they're doing this, it's just opening floodgates for big pharma to come in, and they'll write laws for it that are gonna pretty much make it illegal for people that are already set up, unless they have specific setups,
Yeah.
and like unless you're running at such square feet, or unless you're running within pharmaceutical conditions or stuff like that, I think it's gonna get rid of a lot of other companies out of it and just sort of make it where big corporations can sort of move on in, and Budweiser the living hell out of it. And we'll
It,
get to that point until the general public probably finally realizes that, oh, this is just absolute garbage weed. What's
true.
the what about these, like, how, like, pretty much beer got like microbrews? What about all these little small time growers and stuff like that? And then you'll finally start to see like micro growers come out of it. But I think we got a ways to go.
You're right. It's kind of like intimidating. I see a lot of people that are like super discouraged right now. At least as like the commercial side in Colorado. I think they got beat up a couple years ago. If they left before COVID, COVID was kind of like our pick me up year. I feel like is like the industry did pretty good financially for the
A
first time.
lot of people cashed out when that COVID hit, and
Yeah.
like there's a lot of companies that just they sold high and then they got out and then everything just went boom and crashed. And like um, but yeah, Colorado. I don't know. It's got pretty much Colorado and on west is just fucked.
It's so true. I love that you said Colorado. It's people don't understand it's a tough state, especially if you're into this industry or moved here for weed or whatever. It's like it's tough because the pay doesn't align even closely though, even closely with your cost of living. It's like to rent
Yeah,
or own, or it doesn't matter what the fuck you do. You can live in a shithole and you will still pay premium prices for that shit. And you don't get a beach. Like people compare all these other cool places. I'm like, fuck that. Like we don't have an ocean. Like
when I moved to Colorado, I paid it was either $1,100 or $1,200 a month for a 1,150 square foot ranch style house. So blown out basement. The complete whole basement was the size of the. Yeah, I was paying 11, or yeah, let's just say $1,200 a month for that
and there's
shit,
nothing
and
included, probably.
nothing included on like electrical and all that.
Yeah.
But
Damn.
that was reasonable. When I left Colorado, I was paying fucking $3K a month. Like,
Fuck yes. Fuck yes. It changed so much. That's the weirdest part. Is like you said, like 10 years ago, or even like 5, 6 years ago ish. Is like you could find something like you said. Like I remember those times too. Everything was like $1,200 for nice ass shit, and like 2007, 2008, maybe ish. Is like, and you could get nice places for that. But now,
oh
like you
yeah,
said, you pay $3,000 and like you're in like a half hood, half good, or you're just in the middle of nowhere in a shithole that's like almost condemned, but like probably, I don't know. They're like it has potential and it's still worth half a mil.
it's ridiculous. I remember when I like first moved out there. Like, I had one of my buddies was staying at my place for a couple of months until he closed on his house. He paid like 220 to 240 for that thing. It's like that house now is like worth $500,000.
Yeah, that's, that's amazing. I don't know. It's ridiculous. I think it's crashing though too, just like everything else. Excuse me. I don't know, but they're still building apartments everywhere. But
Yeah.
anyways, how do you think though, because of your move recently, how is everything adapting? How are you feeling, Sam? How's your new house?
Um, I'm liking it out here. It's relaxing. It's not as like Colorado just got too toxic for me. Like,
Jeez.
and I think part of it was just the fact of like everyone is just in such a struggling industry that they're in this like fuck fuck mode of like just feeling.
Definitely.
So you have all this like sort of just negative energy going around you,
Yeah.
and then the traffic. Oh my god! Don't ah, I hate Denver's traffic so much. Like so much. I'm that asshole that you see you driving like fuck you.
Oh, I feel the same way. I've had three
uh,
cars totaled in like 4 years because of driving on I-25 and people rear-ending me. Like, I'm like, how the fuck I'm gonna stop? I'm stopped. Like, anyways, please continue, Sam.
yeah, six was my. I had. Uh, yeah. I hated. I hated driving out there. So it's just like I'd be in a good mood, and then I get on traffic, and I'd be in a piss mood, getting to my destination, and then it's like having to try and calm down from being pissed off. And I don't have that shit out here. Man. It's closer to family.
That's nice.
Not not just fucking killing myself over this whole shit like anymore. Just growing seeds, some smoke for myself, and that's
Do you think, Sam, it's kind of refreshing, like you said, to get away from Colorado has a weird, I don't want to make it sound, it just used to have a different vibe. It's like it used to, I think, just be such a different place. And,
oh, it, like I got love for Colorado no matter what. I
yeah,
spent a
yeah,
good amount of my life there. Um, it's changed though. It definitely has. It's I don't know how to say this without pissing people off.
you can piss
It's
them
gotten a
off.
little bit too fucking California for my liking.
That's
Like everyone from
exactly how
fucking
it's got.
California and New York
Yeah,
moved over there and then got a little bit more fucking snooty where it's like Colorado used to be live and let live. Like
yeah,
if
chill as
I'm
fuck.
doing something that's fucking, you know, fucking with your life, then yeah, come on, get in my shit. But like if I'm not doing anything that's not fucking with you, then like you do whatever you want to that doesn't bother with me. Like it used to just be like live and let live. And it's gotten really aggro of just like
Assholes everywhere.
everyone's at each other's throat over like just topics that they shouldn't even be getting at each other's throat over. It's like
It's true.
everyone's just finding a reason to get pissed off over it at each other, and I don't know. It just I don't get that out here. It's more of like how I grew up in the Midwest, just live and let live. Like
I love that.
you
The
keep to your shit, and I'll keep to my shit. Like I'll still, but like everyone's still got that Midwest friendly wave of like you know Everyone starts their day. I like hello out here is hey, how are you doing? Like
Oh,
I
that's
used to get
amazing.
looked at like a crazy person when I go like check out at like you know grocery store and like how's your day going? And they just look at me like I'm fucking nuts. And it's like no, that's hello. Like that's, it's just I don't know. It's just shit got a little bit too stressful out there. And
I think the
yeah,
industry, the people, the group in this though, is like almost hurt each other so much. Damn it. Oh, there we go. But like hurt each other so much, or it's become so tainted in some weird way that the group though, like people, I think assume that everybody be so close still. But it's almost like the opposite. It's like I feel like it'd be cooler to go to a different state where you didn't have so much like of a grow like group or clique or I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's kind of like a fresh. Does it feel like that, Sam?
uh, honestly, it just sort of like when the whole move and shit like that. Like my family was moved before while I was still out in Colorado finishing shit off. And it's like I love growing, I love weed, but there's more shit that's important in life than doing that. And you gotta find what's really important to your family.
Oh, I love it, Sam. That's what we all need to hear that though. Is I think a lot of people are contemplating like a lot of big decisions at this point on like where to live and career choices and all that stuff honestly to have stability. And I think that it's kind of like heartbreaking in a weird way because I think we all started in this so young and now we're getting to different ages and points and family and all this stuff in our lives. And it's like I hear all these guys say like I if I quit, like everybody will like be able to talk shit or like or I'll feel weak or I feel like I let with anything. I'm saying like these commercial dreams or like I want
Oh
to own
yeah.
a and it's like it's weird, but it's like I almost think like everybody needs to transition like and know that it's always part of you. It's never like you're leaving like it's not like that, you know? But it's like it's not healthy either
Oh yeah.
if it's like holding you back in life or like, you know what I mean? It's a weird it's a weird thing.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'll grow weed till the day I fucking die. I'm gonna smoke weed till the day I die. But
Love that.
like, I don't need to follow these commercial dreams. Or do, like, I'm still gonna do this because I love the plant. I'm still gonna be breeding. It doesn't matter if seeds don't sell for shit,
Mm.
and you can go get them for $2 for a packet in stores. I'll still fucking do it because I like to do it. And but yeah, it's I'd rather raise my kid and do that shit.
I love well, I feel like Sam, you're just gonna like I feel like you're already like so popular and blowing up, but I feel like you're gonna be one of those people that just like continues to get bigger and bigger though. Like as that even being a side piece or so. I don't know. It's like we'll definitely put all the places that everybody can get your drops and we can continue to like put them on the show whenever you have a drop is all these guys love popping beans. And I know they would love your gear.
For sure.
Um well, Sam, do you want to are we skipping anything? I feel like I'm missing all kinds of good things, but is there anything you want to touch on before we finish up?
Um, shit. I mean, not that I can think of. I mean, I'm always down to chat growing and genetics all day long. So
We can have you
I could,
back because we would love to have you back.
oh yeah, I'm always down.
Thank you.
Always down to chat.
Well, I feel like I know a lot of these guys. Let me see in the chat because I feel like you're so honest and so actually like into like intelligent on breeding. Like you have so much knowledge and so much experience behind it that I know people have so many questions with it that I would love to touch on some stuff.
Well, one thing is like, I see Mag. Go back and read those old forums, people. Like, we've gotten so tied into Instagram and this whole like, oh, we just gotta see a picture and just this description. Like, a lot of those guys back in the day sat there and would just go back and forth and spell out a lot of the information. I mean, there's shit out there, but there's great information to be had on there. What is it? It's like the Robert Clark Canna, not the Canna Bible, but I'll look it up and I'll post it on my page or whatnot. But there's a lot of information out there. If you really want to get into the breeding and look up and start like reading about like the genetics aspect of it and see what variabilities go, there is information out there for everyone to read on. But yeah, I'm always down to chat about shit like that. And I don't know it all when it comes to that. And I'll be the first one to admit it. Like, there are far smarter people out there
No,
when it
that's
comes
the
to
stuff.
this stuff. But like, I know a little bit.
Oh my gosh, you're so smart and you're so well covered in this and well versed. Is I think that's what people need though. Is I feel like for some reason is growers, I don't think ever got a lot of support. Like you said, like years ago when you first began, like nobody was there to really help you, and you couldn't come off like a dumbass because you were running the place. So you couldn't like ask questions without them like completely, annihilating you. So I feel like it's weird, but I want to touch on all the things that I think we're just skipping so much as like a habit and a pattern because people feel insecure or like nervous to like come off stupid sometimes or like ask the wrong things. But honestly, I want to use my show to like specifically talk about all those things because I'm like, everybody has these thoughts and questions at some point in
Oh
time.
yeah.
Like,
I'll say this: like anyone claiming that they're a master grower and that they know it all does not in this
yeah.
thing. I've been doing this shit for 12 years, 12 plus at this point. I still learn shit every single time. Like, it's always a learning experience. Just the best thing to do is when you make mistakes, take note of how that mistake happened and don't do it again. It's like a lot of the knowledge that a lot of us have gained over the years that have been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
Fuck, we messed up so many goddamn times.
So many times.
Fried rounds, or, you know, done sprayed sulfur after spraying neem oil on veg
Oh,
plants.
hell
Like,
yeah.
what the hell is like wrong with my shit? And like,
Yeah.
or leaving a light bulb on in the flower room.
The green light.
That, or if you just have like lights from like
Oh,
when you're flipping and you forget to turn lights off,
you're
and then
right.
you're like, well, why are my plants not drinking or flipping into flower like they're supposed to? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, because I left a 60-watt light bulb on. I mean,
Dumping like 1,000 gallons of water into a space on the floor real quick.
oh yes, definitely. Fuck. Uh, Me and a few buddies, we ended up having to get mold remediation done at one of the places we worked at because we fucking flooded and fucking be sitting there like, you know, on break just waiting for the water to fill up, and like we're sitting, smoking off and like off fucking property and shit, and it's like, oh fuck, water, and someone's like running there to go fucking turn the water off and shit. It's like, oh yeah, fuck, let's go get the mops. Like,
Yep. Shot
uh,
back, mobs.
oh yeah, I mean, it's a learning experience, and
That's hilarious.
it's humbling too. There are times where it's like, you get a few rounds going off and you're like on top of the world, like, fuck, I got my shit down. Like,
Yep.
I grow
World's
top
best
notch.
grower.
And then you have something hit you that, you get too cocky or
Yep.
get a little lazy and something fucked you. And you're
Aphids.
like, oh man, I just grew the worst shit ever. I'm embarrassed to even look at this. It's,
Oh, I've
you
been
know,
devastated sometimes with
oh yeah.
crops like that. Like, gotten aphids like at week 7 or some shit, and you can't spray them. You can't do shit. Like, you're just like, oh, sweet. Fuck me. Like,
The worst is like fucking getting russets at week 7, and you're just
oh,
like, fuck, I gotta
oh.
ride this out for 2 fucking weeks and like just kill every lower I can. It's like,
That's exactly. Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
man, yeah, there, and a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, I grow perfect rounds every fucking time because I'm just that. Lies.
Lies.
We
Lies.
all fuck up. We all fuck up.
And you get
And,
exposed to so much shit. Like, even if you don't, even if you're trying not to, really trying not to. It's just like russets, aphids, all that shit they're super crafty and like they hide in all these mysterious places. And they'll sneak up on you when you least expect it.
oh
Like
yeah.
you said, the second you like start slacking off on something, it's like poof, look at what I got going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's, just cleanliness is usually like the That's the thing, is trying to keep clean, trying to keep the grow clean.
What do you think of all
Basically.
this HLVD talk, Sam? And for
Ugh.
certain.
Um, it's been around forever.
Yes.
Uh, it is contagious for sure. I don't think it's as contagious as what they say it is, but it's definitely contagious. It does the whole like bug spreading it and shit like that. Bullshit. I mean, it could. There are those rare situations, but if that was the case, you would have pretty much grows that would have 100% infected, not like 95, not 98 or whatnot. It's a lot of it gets spread by
Pellets.
contamination of um, cuts. So like when you're cutting the plant, pulling leaves, anything of that nature, you need to be switching your gloves. You need to be hitting bleach on all your scissors. Don't switch up with every. Um, it. I mean, it'll lie dormant. I think it lies so dormant that it cannot get tested for. So like, they'll show people who will have negative test results on their shit,
Yep.
give it off to another grow, and then they do something that ends up bringing that, like, they end up stressing out the plant to the point where it shows up, and then they're like, oh, you gave me HLVD. It's like,
Yeah.
well, this was tested clean. But I think it's dormant, and probably the majority of almost everything that's out there is
Mm-hmm.
how clean you are with your garden. Um, I mean, you gotta constantly just don't don't share snips. Like, um,
True.
my buddy, I'll talk to him a lot. Uh, Mr. Crane, you know him. Uh,
Yes. Awesome
uh,
guy.
super smart, super fucking smart. Um, but he's like the for where he works at. He's the guy that goes through, figures out problems, figures out pathogens, all that stuff. And
Wow.
I mean, he's really one. If you ever want to get someone to talk like IPM procedures or any of that shit,
Let's have him on.
he would really be someone to talk to. Like, fucking smart, really
Oh,
smart. He's an agronomist. Like, that's what he went to school for, was study of plants, and actually wanted to be a golf course
damn.
superintendent, and ended up
Hardest
growing
job
weed instead.
ever.
Uh, but yeah, so what he said with like a lot of it as well is that like you don't see it like show up within stuff unless like you bring something fresh and new within the mix, and
Oh.
then if you share those like scissors with something that's affected and you bring on something that has never been around that shit whatever whatsoever, it's just going to start flaring up in that new one, but all your older stuff is going to be just fine and not show any sign or stress of it, and it's just pretty much how you keep your plants pretty much, as long as you're not sharing snips with like each strain, and you're not gonna get it to show up as long as you're using like bleach on all your shit, spraying down your plants with zero tall, um, just as like IPM procedures, using oxifos as well. Like,
I love the
BioSafe
oxyfos.
has great, yeah, BioSafe, great products. If you are a commercial level, BioSafe's that. He's the guy to talk to. Very smart guy, knows his shit. Ever looking to use your products, he's the guy. But yeah, it's just a lot of it's how you how clean you keep your garden and go about it. Don't stress your plants out. You're not hitting them with like high levels of the wrong nutrients or anything like that.
Coming in hot.
Pretty much, yeah. Uh, but yeah, I think it's out there, and a lot more shit than what people think it's actually out there, and it's just a lot of it is how like people's SOPs within gardens are themselves. But we used to call it dudding. I
Yeah.
mean, years ago, everyone just was like, "Oh yeah, I got this dud plant."
Yep.
People were still sharing cuts or like using the same scissors on everything, not fucking switching shit out. Like, I think it's in far, 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 far more shit than what everyone believes it is. And I
I,
think people are have. and don't even know they have it.
I think you're right. Like I think it's funny, like you said, is like I'm not saying testing is really important. I think for all kinds of reasons, like
Oh yes,
whatever.
testing is definitely important.
But I think that it doesn't, like you're saying, is I think everybody should assume, like for reals, I just think everybody has it, like you said, and it's dormant at all times. Let's just assume. Let's just assume that, like, if you have a green result, you're clear, is that it is just dormant in your plant. And it's not, I think any plant. I don't think it's just like cannabis specific. I think like fusarium or like some of these other things, like, there's like plants, like the
Fucking
shit.
fusarium like that.
That's way
HLV,
worse.
like you
It's
can work
way
around
worse.
HLV.
Yeah.
Fusarium, god
Yeah.
damn.
That shit will
Fuck
ruin your
fusarium.
life. Ruin your life.
Week 3 and all of a sudden your shit just wilts on you. You're like, what the fuck?
See,
Like,
Sam, that's so cool. Really fast because you're the only person I've ever like ever. This is the most amazing reaction. Thank you. Is fusarium? Is somebody in the chat yelled at me because I would say fusarium, but anyways, is I feel like it when you see a room die from it, like an actual room, like completely die, like you said, at week 3 through like 6. When you see them flare in like 48 hours, go from like green stacking bud to completely dead, or maybe 3 days, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, has like has that happened? It sounds like it's happened to you, Sam. How did you find out
I,
about fusarium?
I've worked on commercial levels. I've done hemp farms, shit like that. Like, you see it's you'll see it where it happens on one tray and one
Yeah.
tray only because they're all getting the same fucking water, and it's like trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with the shit, breaking up the root ball and the fucking like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
fuck fusarium.
I love that. I want that to be our new hashtag.
Uh, yeah, yeah, and
That's
people don't even talk about fusarium though. Like you're saying, it's like, oh, it's all on like. There's far worse shit out there.
way worse.
Um,
Like, and more like botrytis pythium. Like, I'm not saying that those are like as detrimental, but like stuff that we
but
should.
they are pretty detrimental. Like,
Yeah. See, Sam, that's fucking cool. That is so cool that you really have experience and like knowledge about it because I remember back in the day, like for reals, like I would almost get fired or have a whole group of like staff trying to get me fired because of diagnosing fusarium, and they would be like, no, this bitch is full of shit, or like what, like, or what, they would be like, this is nitrogen deficiency, or this is the heat, or this is like all these other things, but you can tell from all kinds of shit that's very, very definitive and very
oh
distinctive.
yeah, and yeah, figuring out the fusarium isn't like, oh, it just happens one time. That's fusarium. No, it has to happen a couple times where you're like, what the flying fuck is going on here?
Yeah. Have you ever had it,
Yeah.
Sam, when you try to reverse a plant that has fusarium, where it will almost flare the plant, like where they'll almost die from like the reversal sprays or anything like that? Have you ever seen anything weird?
I haven't like anything that I've reversed is usually made it through like vigorous of like run through of like, okay, this shit isn't like sick or infected or anything like that.
You're really doing it
Uh,
right.
uh, but like I have seen it where like if its pollen has gotten hit on something before, and then like, oh, what the fuck, and it's like, okay, that will never get used or sold or done with because like that shit's got fucking issues, and then I'll usually get rid of like that genetic if like that's the case. But I have seen pollen flare it up, where but one of the things that a lot of people don't fucking realize is runoff. A lot
Oh
of it is
yeah.
you gotta watch your runoff on like when dealing with fusarium is that's where it spreads. Is it or if it puddles up in one area and you get a few pots it'll catch at, like
Yeah.
yeah,
The
some
easy
nasty shit.
cloners. Have you ever seen it in gardens, Sam, like a really bad commercially or something from the easy cloners? Like when they have fusarium and because it's sharing the water, like you're saying, is like even young. Like where
Oh
it's
yeah.
not, yeah.
Um, I mean that's where like I first got my whole introduction to HLV, and it's like the fucking those banana care cloners and whatnot. I don't
Yeah.
nope root trays like everything raised up, not sharing the same water. Fucking like I'm not if I'm watering, I'm not letting shit just run off all over on each other. Like
Yeah.
You know, I've seen the fucked up ends of commercials to like, just know you gotta be careful on that shit, because it'll get you.
I love that you talk about the pollen too, because I don't hear a lot of people talking about that or any breeders mentioning, but it really does like mess stuff up pretty solid, like you said. To I don't know, but I don't even think as people would think going to do their first plants or work with their first batch of pollen. I don't even think, like you said, that that would even cross your mind. Honestly, it wouldn't have crossed my mind. Is
What I would suggest, if you really want to get into breeding, collect your pollen on just a trim tray, and then go from there.
that's
Like,
smart
you
little
don't
tech.
need a bunch of pollen. Like, if you're gonna get into pollen or breeding for the first time and stuff like that, don't do it just to go make money. Do it because you love it. Get into it. Actually learn the plant. Learn to read the genetics that you're using. So then you'll start to see traits that become similar. With, you know, one thing, a way to read a male that I've always done is you gotta pop a bunch of seeds. You use that pollen, and then you gotta pop seeds of a bunch of different crosses of it, and you gotta see what traits it actually plays within those crosses itself. Otherwise, you're just gonna be like, okay, yeah, this breeds fire stuff, but what does it really influence into what the cross I'm making? Or sometimes it won't make fire stuff, and then you just got shit seeds. Because I
You're
mean,
right.
it does happen. Like,
Okay.
just like when you pop seeds and there's those females that aren't worth a shit and that you
Yeah.
throw out, you have males that do the same thing. It's like they're not worth it to further on breeding with and move on to your next project. And just do it for fun. And you know, eventually get there. Like when I did this, I've given away thousands and thousands and thousands of seeds that when I first bred, like, and I was using other people's males and stuff like that, I
Mm,
didn't sell the shit. I would just go to events and give out seeds. Be like, yo, you pop seeds? And just give out seeds. Here you go. Here you go. And just like, just did it to pass out the genetics. And then like, eventually I made something that was my own male. And I'm like, okay, now I can sell this because it's worth selling at this point. I put my
yeah.
work into it. Like, I could put my stamp on this. Like, everyone's trying to get to this gold rush, and I mean, I get it, but we don't want to become Europe here,
Yeah.
where everyone's using the same shit
Yeah.
over and over and over again, and it gets so watered down and bottlenecked that all the good traits of these strains just sort of disappear because people just bred for started breeding for frost, but
Yeah.
started breeding away from flavor, or started breeding towards flavor but away from potency. I mean, you got to try and find that like
Balance.
that balance exactly, and you would still keep the genetic pool open where we're not just closing everything down. And like working strains is good. Is at the same time, don't get me wrong on that. Like getting those some genetics where you get them down to an actual bottom out trait, like we're I don't want to say exactly because cannabis is nowhere near it, but like similar to where vegetables are, where you pop it, you get
Yeah.
very much the similar thing every time. But those are good for certain points. But those once you get to that point, then that needs to be used as a breeding stock. So on other genetics that are completely different to open up your traits again, and then
Yeah.
go from there. Um, cookies is, I mean, and I just mean cookies in general.
Mm,
Look where it's come. It's like it's now gelato, but it's all cookies. Um,
yeah.
it's
Sure.
gotten so bottlenecked that like everything that comes out it looks all the same.
The
Like you look
flavor.
on Instagram, you're like, yeah, yeah, that's pretty weed, but it looks like cookies.
Yeah.
Um, or you smell it and like you said, or taste it and the flavor, it all tastes like gelato, but you don't have anything that like tastes really different on it. It all tastes so similar.
And then you lose your appreciation, even though it's a beautiful flavor. It is, but like you start to lose your appreciation when stuff gets overly saturated and pushed like that. Like it takes away the sparkle, I think, as well. Y-
Yeah, Professor P has said it best. Everyone's out there painting with the same shade of gray. Like we gotta
Okay.
grow with different stuff and like try and I don't know throw out crosses that you haven't thought of. for a
Yeah.
minute, or just like, oh, that would be a crazy combination or something like that. Just not trying to do the same exact cross that everyone else is out there doing.
Mm-hmm. I love that advice. That's I think that's incredible to hear because it does like I noticed when I go into the dispensary lately is like it's funny, but even like Gary Payton, even some of these straight like permanent marker.
Oh, Gary Payton, bland ass weed.
Yeah,
That's just
exactly.
me.
Like you see all the strains on this and it's just like nothing like you said. Like I love strains. Like I used to only be a Kush girl, but like now like I just wish I could find Durban or like Golden Goat or just like some more hazes like Ghost Train or Moonshine on the Shelf or Kosher even like that's nothing but just different. Just and like you said green weed. I know this sounds ridiculous, but there's not a lot of like green weed on the shelves. I don't know.
That's what I'm going back towards. Like, and I know people have done headband and they've done a bunch of crosses of it, and I'll probably be making shit that other people have made. But like, I made those ones because I like gas. And if you have a problem with it, I don't give a fuck. I like gas.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, that's sort of where I was with blueberry as well. So many people dog on blueberry, but so many people have also smoked some busty ass blueberry that's not blueberry. Like,
I just got blueberry, and it's the most excited one that I have right now, or exciting one that I have right now to me.
which
But
kind did you get? Is it like the pre 99 sativa one, or is it different?
so it's supposed to be is it was from a very valid source. I think Archive, honestly, in Oregon though, not like homie to me or something. But
Okay.
I don't know, but I haven't got to flower yet. Um, it's still little, but I,
Shoot me pics once it is flowering. I'll let you know if it's the same cut as what I had.
oh,
From what
awesome.
I've been told and how I explain it, it's different than what. If it's the archive cut, I think his cut is different than what
Ooh, tell me
I
about
had.
yours.
I don't have mine anymore. It's dead.
Damn it.
Um, person who was had it just shit didn't root for them, and they weren't the best cloner. And they were the last one that had it, but that's why like I did the blueberry muffin top line in the first place because it was like trying to bring back that because I made seeds with it a long time ago, and then uh, like that was like the second cross or second time I actually made seeds. So the first time I actually successfully made seeds. So the first time like I told you with the mold on
Yeah.
the plants. And then I'd pop those. The ones that I popped the first time, that's what I took to the 100K Grand Prix. Was that cut of the blueberry muffin top, and then
Did you play Sam?
uh, I mean points wise, I guess it was like third because it was like winner take all on it. But like I played pretty much. I lost to Black Dog Farmer, who then won with that.
Oh, okay. But I was gonna say you
Yeah.
were up there though. Like you're discounting it, but you were Sam was crushing. He was gonna get first almost.
And then I decided to pop seeds of it again because I ended up getting rid of the other cut that was way more towards the blueberry. It's like, fuck it,
Oh.
I'll go find those. And then I was like, oh, I'll make seeds of that shit because I found a male that was like, reminded me of the blueberry that I had. But the blueberry cut that I had, the best way to explain it is it grew similar to how cookies grows indoor. Outdoor, it threw on colas. But like indoor, it was smaller nugs, super frosty. They were blue though instead of purple. It was actually like a tint of blue to them. They were a bit more of the uh, a little bit more of a galaxy triangular shape
Oh
to them. Um, Smelt straight up like Hostess blueberry muffins.
gosh.
Uh, like those like little muffin packs or whatnot that you
My favorite
uh,
treat ever. Yes.
yeah, so it smelled like exactly like that. And I was buying that weed in high school. And someone that I used to know, um, who's no longer around, he was growing it, and I drove back to Omaha, and I traded him a cut of Jack Flash
Damn.
for the blueberries. So I mean, yeah, this is it was a while ago. Like strains that like you don't
Sam,
aren't as popular like what they used to be.
do you think that you could ever get Jack Flash again?
Uh, there was a Jack Herrera cut that was floating around.
I have
might be
Jack
able to get.
Herrera, the
That was
10K
like
cut.
okay. The one we had, I don't know what cut it was, but it was like very very spot on to the Jack Flash. Like it reminded me damn near of that Jack Flash.
It is like the
But
same. You're right though. Damn.
yeah,
Well,
I mean,
I
all
just
Jack is Jack. Like,
I love Jack. I love that terpene profile though. Like it's funny, but like over time, because I smoke so much weed that like it's nice during the day most times for me to like stick on like something like that versus the gases and the cushes. I'll start
every
like
once in a while, I'll smoke some Jack. Like, if it's like around and it's good, I'll fucking smoke it. But most everyone I know quit growing that shit because everyone was like, I don't want that Jack. Like,
you have to run it
because
so long. People like don't realize that you.
oh no, you could get like no, you all you need is 9-10 weeks. And
You
you're
think with Jack
crushing
you
with
could
Jack.
fit it? That's awesome.
All day, all day. Like,
I love
I cut my teeth with Jack.
Damn! That is awesome.
It used to have room that was like 2/3 of the way Jack Flash, like just running that shit like 9-10 weeks, and just I mean it was perfectly done at that point, and it pulled weight. Like that's why I love Jack. It's because like that was
Dumps.
back in the day when you're using just single-ended hoods, fucking like when everyone else is like pulling one and a half room.
Yeah.
I'm like fucking pulling 2.5 off of fucking Jack. Like fuck yeah, crush mode.
You're like, let me go write a book real quick.
Oh, dude, I used to joke about that all the time. Like, we should write a 2 pounds of light, and then like, I don't know, 2-3 years after that, 3 pounds of light came out. I'm like, well, fuck, can't do 2 pounds of light now because
Now I gotta get 5 pounds. That's awesome.
oh yeah,
Did
the
you
old
ever?
ballast days.
That's true. Jason and I were just talking about that today. Is like LEDs versus like the old school like triple X's and like I mean all of them, the Phantom Ds, like all this shit compared to like LEDs now is like we were talking about pros and cons.
Porn
What do you-
stars and Phantom ballast all day
Yeah.
was like what I had. And if I didn't get the triple X's, aka the porn stars,
Yes.
then it was the Raptors.
The Raptors. That's what they were called, the fucking Raptors. Changing
Oh,
the
yeah.
glass. We were talking about, do you remember how hard it was? And you had to do it all the fucking time. But, like, do you remember how hard it was to pull out those sheets on the first models? Because the metal and, like, the screws were so, like, janky. Like, you'd always break one sheet, like, a year. No matter, and you could never fucking replace it.
I was pretty good at those because like what I started growing with was Daystar ACs, and I don't know for a lot of you folks out there. I mean, this is some old growing right here. These were like, think about like the size of the Gavita light that are double endeds now, but this is a single ended light that was like a hood that you still had to rock close to your canopy. So you're rocking this tiny little fucking hood, and they didn't yield the greatest. Like that was the first. After that first round, I went and bought triple XLs. I was like, fuck that. My yields went up like tenfold. But oh yeah, like I remember all those like Daystar ACs, Blockbusters, the Ochos, triple XLs, Raptors. I think that was about most of my experience with them, but like I've ran all those hoods.
That's just crazy. It's crazy to think about though, because like even when Gavitas came out, like that was kind of like how we see LEDs like a year ago or maybe longer now. But like, you know, when everybody was so excited when like the first like, I don't know, anything like the DEs of anything came out. It's like they didn't matter if it was like Gavita, I guess, but it was just like, holy shit.
I didn't trust them when they first came out. I was like, that tiny little thing? I'm like, I've grown with small hoods before. I'm like, fuck no, that shit ain't gonna work. I got argued it so much that like when we were building out, cause like That's where I met Crane at. Was when I worked at Agati. We first we designed that whole fucking grow up there
No
in
way.
Tabernacle. Like we were the ones that sat down, designed the rooms out, decided which all the products is going in there. Like yeah, set up that whole viewable grow. Like it was him,
Wow.
I, and our buddy Steve.
Wait,
Like
was
we
that grow? Sam, was it grow in? We don't. But was it close to Purina dog food?
no, it's up in Winter Park.
Oh, damn. Okay, so sorry. Please continue.
Um, but like I argued it that like what we had like a 50 light room and then 30 some odd light room, and I argued it so much that we got the 30 some odd light some odd room with Raptor style hoods, but double-ended bulbs in there because I was like, no, we need the big hoods. And then after growing it, I'm like, oh, well, these things run so fucking high. You don't need these big ass hoods. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm wrong. I'll admit it. Like,
That is funny. That's awesome, though. Oh,
but oh yeah, I mean, good
we
times, good times.
we all have those moments though. That's what I think is funny is like everything that like I was against at some point in time, like I'm like super into now. Like salt, hydro, rock wool, period. Like I used to be completely the most extreme opposite like 15 years ago where I was like, fuck all this and I will never grow like that. And like once I switched to all these different systems and all these different methods, like I've fallen in love with all of them in their own different circumstance or like you know what I mean? Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's just it's and I think I don't know, I think it's funny that like lighting and all these things that like we think we're like this is such shit like when it first comes out, but then when you actually try it and like you get that you're like, "Oh, this is fucking awesome." Like not always.
So the thing is, people want to argue all day that like if you got to grow this way because this is the most flavor, or salts won't get you any flavor. It's like I've seen organics beat salts. I've seen salts beat organics. Like it just
Yeah.
depends on the grower and how well they can do the shit. Um, but I've seen people nail like fuck. When I lost in the 100K Grand Prix, I lost to House and Garden nutrients, and I was running Build a Soil the works on my
Yep.
nutrients, and like
I love
I
you.
still ended up losing in this on the head to head, and I mean both were good tasting weed. I just you
Oh
got to
my
know what you're doing, when to like give shit, when not to give shit, and that goes both ways, organics and salts. Because I've smoked some horrible organic weed, and I've smoked
yeah.
horrible salt weed, and
Yeah.
smoked great organic weed and great salt weed. Like
I love that you say that. Nobody like likes to say that. And I appreciate it so much because you're right. It's all about the cultivator and like I think there's it really comes down to like all the attention to detail, all those things. It's not like you won't get obstacles, like you said. It's crazy, like these diseases and like pest issues. Like sometimes shit just happens. Like it really just happens. But it's like I think if you truly care about this, the more tedious times in life that like you can really spend a lot of time in your garden and you're like being so particular. I mean, I think the weed does come out better, or the seeds do come out better. But I think the times that we get sloppy, and this is just naturally going to happen, I think, if you do it for 20 years or whatever the hell you're up to, it's like you're going to get sloppy sometimes. You're like, fuck it, I'm going on vacation. Or like, whatever. And shit gets too
yeah,
dense or
yeah, I
whatever.
mean, believe me, there've been those times where it's just like, fuck it, I'll do it tomorrow. And
Yeah.
if you're growing, that is the worst thing you can ever do. Is fuck it, I'll do it tomorrow. If you put it off tomorrow, you just build a bigger problem for yourself every single time. Because the thing is, these plants, they don't care about your schedule at all. It's their schedule, and you have to live around that.
Yeah.
And if you're going to grow weed and you're going to grow good weed, you have to learn to live around your plants. And when they need water, they need water. When they need to be leafed, they need to leaf. They need sprayed down, they need sprayed down. And when you go and you put it off, all you're doing is you're adding double to your workload the next day. Because the next day, you're going to have to do something else to that plant. and now you're gonna have to go. Now say like, oh, I'm gonna put off de-leafing. Okay, well I put off de-leafing today. What that means that I have to de-leaf tomorrow and put up trellis, or I'm putting on trellis, and then that means that I'm putting on trellis, and then I'm putting off transplanting in my veg the next day, and it just builds up and it builds up, and you're in this constant state of chasing your own tail instead of trying to tackle the task at hand
Yeah.
and work towards a better end instead of like just trying to keep up.
Yeah. That was so beautifully said. I think everybody, we need to start a rock solid Monday, and we just need to come in hot to our gardens with our checklist like that, because you're absolutely right. I remember employees getting like pissed sometimes of like, like Fridays. It's like you want to get out early and everybody like they wouldn't finish the transplant or something, and you'd be like, you have to finish the transplant. Like you can't leave until this is done. And everybody be like, you're the devil. And like, I don't know, but you're right. Is it fucks up so much more is affected by like flip dates not getting done in time, or just any of these schedule things, even at a small home grow, or a closet for reals, if you don't stay on top of your, you know.
Also, and this one could be the hardest one out there, is you got to try and keep a positive mindset when you're going in that garden. It's like, I know this sounds all fucking hippie-ish and shit like that, but plants do actually read in your like energy levels, and they've done studies on this shit of like, you treat a plant like shit, the plant's gonna act like shit,
Yeah.
grow like shit. Like you treat a plant with love, you bring happiness in its way, the plant's gonna do great because of the fact that you're in a good mood. Same with like food. You can always tell when like someone's pissed off making you a meal because that shit just something don't taste right about it. But if
Yeah.
you got someone that's actually putting their love, their energy in that, taking their time, cutting everything properly, doing it the way it should be, it's always going to taste better because you got someone that's putting that effort into it. And a little goes a long way when it comes to doing this shit.
I love that,
And I
Sam.
mean, I could be guilty of it myself. There's times where I've been pissed off in the garden, and it's just like, fuck, can't do this. Like, you know, you gotta calm yourself down. Go smoke a couple bowls.
Yep.
Go back. Reset.
I love that you say that though, because I think we do run into that. Like when you do walk into a room that has bugs, or you're trying to like fix things, or it has any kind of issue, honestly, it's like it
Oh,
can be
and then you just,
devastating.
yeah, and you hate being in the room. And you're
Yeah.
just like, why? Why am
Get
I
me the
in here?
fuck
And
out of
then your
here.
plants reflect it because they just look like they're fucking underappreciated and just like, I look like shit because you just don't even want to take care of me.
Yeah, it's true. We need that, Sam. We need that reminder. Spread the love like that. Beyond Tide.
I probably got to get going
I know.
here.
I consumed your life tonight. Thank you so much. Do you want, Sam, if you shoot me a text of all the things that I should put in the description for us, is we will put a link in here, but do you want to shout out anything of where people can get your seeds one more time really quick?
Um, the Seed Bazaar, uh, seedbazaar.com, AttitudeSeedBankUSA.com, and MWMSeeds.com, which is Midwest Mountain Seed Bank. Um, all three of them carry my gear. If you go onto my Instagram, which is below here, I have a link tree that has all of those websites listed out. So you can go, it tells you where exactly to find my gear at. Also has my Ian Seed Finder on there. So if you ever have questions about the genetics, I filled those ones out personally. So it's the actual genetics that are on there. Um, and I think that's about all there. And it has my email on there as well. You're more than welcome. If you ever have questions, shoot me an email. I'll take my time to answer them. Sometimes I do take a little bit to respond, but I will take time out of my day to try and answer people's questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for coming on tonight. It was such a pleasure getting
Thank
to
you
chill
very
with
much
you.
for having me on.
Thank you. Well, I will let you enjoy the rest of your evening.
All
Thank
right,
you,
yeah, thank
Sam.
you.
We'll be in touch really soon.
All right, sounds good. Have a great night.
Thank you, you too.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. Thank you.